Om Vakratunda Mahakaya Surya Koti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kurume Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada Saraswati Namastubhyam Varade Kamarupini Vidyarambham Karishyami Siddhir Bhavatu Me Sada Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha Guru Sakshat Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Swahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastama Vidvishavahai Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Bhagavad Gita is in the form of dialogue, samvada. Upanishads also are in the form of samvada. Guru Shishya Samvada. The Shishya approaches the teacher. The Shishya who is ready, that is symbolized in the form of the twigs which he carries in his hand. He comes to the Guru, asks questions, then the Guru answers. He asks for Brahma Vidya, then Guru, in the form of the answer, he gives him the teaching. So therefore it is Samvada. If any doubt is there, Shishya asks and Guru clarifies. In the Upanishads, Gita also being an Upanishad, because the vision of the Gita is same as the vision of the Shruti. That is why it is Gita Upanishad. Like the Veda, Gita presents both Karma Yoga as well as Jnana Yoga. So therefore, the teaching being Brahma Vidya, knowledge is Brahma, therefore it is in the form of dialogue. Gita also follows the same footstep as that of the Shruti. So therefore Gita is a dialogue. The entire Gita is a dialogue. In fact, all the teaching is in the form of dialogue. Although the methodology of the teaching doesn't necessitate the presentation of the characters and the dialogues between them. After all, we are not interested in knowing the names of the teacher or taught. We are only interested in the teaching itself. But then the characters involved in the dialogue are presented in the form of a story, an akhyayika. Akhyayika means story, in order to tell us something about ourselves. We find the same approach in the Upanishads, where many names of people are cited. If Tattvamasi, that thou art, is a message, why not just talk about that message? Why are all these stories brought in? Only to reveal the method of teaching, the sampradaya, how we have to learn and what type of knowledge it is. So, to reveal the method of teaching, how the Shishya should approach the teacher, how he should ask for the teaching, so, and the methodology of teaching, that is called sampradaya. So, to reveal that only akhyayika, the story is there. And there are 4 types of dialogues. There are different types of dialogues. One is a discussion involving 2 or more people who are interested in finding out the facts about a certain subject matter. That is discussion. They are all exploring. In this type of discussion, there is no teacher-student relationship. That note. In the discussion, there is no student-teacher relationship. Each person is equally placed. Even though one person may know a little more than the others about a subject matter. They are all interested in understanding. This kind of discussion among equals, any collective study among students, for example, is called Vada. So Vada meaning discussion, and is naturally healthy and is traditionally an important component of study. It is said that a student gains a quarter of his knowledge by Vada, by discussion. So vada meaning discussion. Discussion among the equals. So more or less all are endowed with the same level of knowledge, and therefore there is a discussion. And it is, as Swamiji has said here, it is an important component of study. There is a shloka, Acharyat Padamadatte, Padam Shishya Swamedaya, Padam Sabrahmacharibhyaha, Padam Kala Kramenacha. The footnote that shloka is given, that is Asvashitam, how the teaching happens. Acharyat Padamadatte. A teacher cannot completely give the knowledge. Teacher teaches, he gives, but student cannot gain complete knowledge from a teacher. So, therefore, he receives 25% from the class, from the teacher. That is 1/4. A student gains 1/4 of the knowledge from the teacher. It's not that he will not get 100%. The teacher gives 100% and the student also definitely should get 100%. But there are some lack on the part of the student. So therefore, 25% he gains. And 1/4, he has to use his buddhi. Shishya Sumedaya, using his buddhi. The teacher teaches, but understanding takes place only purely by the effort of the student. So teacher's contribution is 25% and students' effort by intelligence he gains, that is 25%. So 50% total, and another 25% from the other students. Discussing with the co-students, classmates, and gain another 25%. So total 75%. Then another 25% that will come only in course of time. Padam Kala Kramenacha. Over a period of time, the student gains another 1/4. Therefore, 1/4 means that is the third quarter. That is the third quarter from which the student gains knowledge, discussing with other students. That is called Vada. Sab Brahmacharibhyaha, Sahabadina, from the co-students. That's how the knowledge takes place, complete knowledge takes place for a student. So this is just a highlight that teacher gives. But the teacher can give you, from the teacher you can receive. Teacher gives 100%, but student can receive 25%. Another 25% he has to use his intelligence. In spite of using intelligence, he may not gain 100% of the knowledge. That he has to discuss, clarify doubts with his friends, discuss and clarify. And another 25%. In spite of discussion, there still may be lingering some doubts, and the problem comes, we're not able to solve that. Another 20% over a period of time, when the knowledge deepens, with the knowledge deepens in course of time, that also is taken care. The another 20% also comes to the student. So that is the idea. So therefore, by Vada, by healthy discussion, a student gains knowledge because there is a healthy discussion, that healthy discussion among the equals. So that is called Vada. This is one type of dialogue. This is an healthy dialogue. And there are two unhealthy types of dialogue that we should be aware of. One is a dialogue that takes place between two people who are already committed to different beliefs. This is what happens in the interfaith conference. Two people who are already committed to two different beliefs. Such a discussion called Jalpa is governed purely by each person's wit. Any discussion between two fanatics fall into this category. It is not an healthy discussion. There is no real transfer of knowledge. Both the parties, they stick to their own belief. They don't give up. Each one of them is convinced that the other person is totally wrong and tries to win the other over to his or her particular belief, although there is no basis for discussion. This is called Jalpa. This is what happens in interfaith conference. Suppose you have a belief and I have another belief. Your belief may be right and mine may be wrong. On the other hand, my belief may be right and yours may be wrong. Or both of us may be wrong. Or both of us may be right also. How then can either of us insist that I am alone right? The difference between a believer and a fanatic becomes obvious here. This is called Jalpa. So Vada, Jalpa. Vada is healthy discussion. Jalpa is not healthy. Really, there is no transfer of knowledge and therefore no understanding. So therefore, it is not. Then, the importance of an open and inquiring mind. The difference between a scientist and a believer is also worthy of notice. One may adhere to a belief, but everyone must necessarily have a mind which is open to explore and know. That open, inquiring mind, the mind of a scientist, is an entirely different mind from that of a believer. The mind of a scientist is open. He believes what he understands from his experiments, what he believes, not he considers that as true. It's not even a belief. He considers that as the true or the facts that which he proves by or comes across by his investigation. So therefore, the mind of a scientist is open. We can and must respect the beliefs of others, but we cannot have a discussion based on such beliefs. Both of us may be wrong. A discussion between two people, both of whom are committed to certain beliefs, is purely a dialogue between two missionaries. It is better to respect the other person's belief and have a simple human relationship. Discussions are useless. So, therefore, this all interfaith dialogues are useless because there one person putting pressure on the other person to accept the belief, his belief. These are our belief. So all of you do, all you can do is ask, what is your belief? Some people are curious. If you are curious, you can ask. But I myself would not ask because the other person is acceptable to me along with his or her beliefs. I need not know what they are. This is a healthy attitude to have towards a person. But any discussion, jalpa based on beliefs is useless. No one wins and no one loses. Each person always come back with better arguments. Therefore, jalpa discussions, therefore, are useless and have no value. This is one unhealthy discussion. Then there is another type of discussion called vitanda, wherein one person makes a statement with which the other person always disagrees. This is like the discussion between the mother-in-law and the daughter-in-law. What the mother-in-law says, daughter-in-law denies. Or what the daughter-in-law says, mother-in-law will not accept. So always there is a fight between them. So that is vitanda. Why? Merely because the other person said it. What the other person says, it's not acceptable to me. Vitanda. Therefore, I take an opposite stand. So due to jealousy or some other reason, one person always tries to prove the other wrong. Such a discussion also is useless. So therefore, jalpa and vitanda are unhealthy discussions and therefore no benefit is gained out of it. Then a fourth type of discussion, one that concerns us here is samvada, a discussion between a teacher and a student. Guru Shishya Samvada. This is not Vada, this is Guru Shishya Samvada. Here that only two are involved, Guru and Shishya. Shishya may be many numbers, but two sets of people. Guru is one, only one person, Guru and Shishyas. And the knowledge among them is not equal. Knowledge among the giver, the Guru, and the receiver, the teacher, not equal. Whereas in Vada, it is equal. More or less, it is equal, but it is not in Guru Shishya Samvada. In the teacher-student relationship, the student has already accepted the other person as a teacher and therefore looks up to him or her. Although there is a dialogue between them, the attitude is entirely different. The discussion being based on the student's acceptance that I am a student and this person is my teacher. This attitude prevails until or unless the person thought to be a teacher proves to be otherwise. In the Bhagavad Gita itself, you will find after the first chapter, whole chapter, and the first part of the second chapter, you will see Arjuna, the relationship between Arjuna and Krishna. It is a master-servant relationship, or you can call it as a friendship. They were friends before. And in the battlefield, Arjuna is the master and Krishna is his Sarathi, the driver. But what happens after that? After that, there is a change in the relationship. There is a change in the role play of them. Krishna becomes the teacher and Arjuna becomes the student. So totally a different relationship when it comes to teaching. So because Arjuna suddenly from being a friend, he becomes a disciple. He's ready to learn from his friend Krishna and Krishna becomes a guru. So the knowledge level of Krishna and Arjuna not same. Krishna is Bhagavan and he has the knowledge, and knowledge flow happens from the teacher Krishna to the disciple Arjuna. Before it was friend Arjuna, now it has become disciple Arjuna. So therefore it is Samvada. Arjuna is ready to accept what Bhagavan Krishna says. He is ready to receive the teaching that he exhibits beautifully in the second chapter. Shishyastekam Shadimam Tvam Prapannam. We will read that later. So that is Samvada. That is Samvada. Then the moment you discover the person has nothing to teach, you can become friends. However, when you have to learn from someone, you look up to that person. If you don't understand what the teacher is saying, you give the benefit of the doubt to the teacher, even though he or she may sometimes appear to be contradictory, seeming to have said something previously that is not in harmony with what is being said now, as we will see in the Gita. So, when you accept a person as a teacher, you have to better to give him the benefit of doubt, even though what he says seems to be contradictory, because that's nothing contradiction. It seems to be contradictory. Even Bhagavan, even Arjuna also would say later in the Gita, we will see. You seems to confuse me. He would say like that. Your teaching seems to confuse me. Seems to means not confuse me. It means I don't understand. There is confusion on my part. Therefore, not able to understand. Therefore, seems to confuse me. Like that. So therefore, Sambhada. So four types of dialogue. Vada, Sambhada, both are healthy, and Jalpa and Vitanda, unhealthy discussion dialogues. Now the dialogue between the teacher and student. Is it Vada, Sambhada, or Jalpa or Vitanda? It is Samvada. Dialogue between teacher and the student. In Guru Shishya Samvada, the subject matter can be anything. Here in the Gita, the subject matter is Brahma Vidya and Yoga Shastra. In one word, Vedanta. Karma Yoga also Vedanta only. Brahma Vidya as well as Karma Yoga is Vedanta. So Yoga Shastra means Karma Yoga. Brahma Vidya is Jnana Yoga. So both yogas together can be called by the name Vedanta. Guru is Bhagavan Krishna, referred to as Vasudeva's son. Krishna is Vasudeva. His father is Vasudeva, Vasudeva's son, and the student is Arjuna, called Partha here because he is the Pritha's son. Pritha is Kunti, son of Kunti. He is also called Kaunteya, Partha or Kaunteya. In fact, all the sons have the name because they are being son of Kunti. They are all Kaunteyaha or Parthaha. But here, the Gita, when we say Partha, it is Arjuna because Krishna addresses Arjuna. Arjuna is the only student here in Gita. Therefore, Partha is Arjuna. He is also called Kaunteya, the son of Kunti. And Arjuna has a number of other names, Dhananjaya, Sabyasachi, Gudakesha, and so on. But Arjuna is his popular name. In Gita, you will find Krishna addressing Arjuna by 18 different names. Gita has got 18 chapters, and the number of days of war happened was 18 days, and number of names of Arjuna 18, and number of the different names by which Arjuna addresses Krishna is also 18. So 18 is something, an important number. Mahabharatam is called Jaya by the Katapayadi system. There is a number system. By that, Jaya, if you each letter of the language also has got a number, like numerology. So Jaya is, if you count, that also comes to 18. So 18 is something significant. Then, between Arjuna, the student, and Lord Krishna, the teacher, there's a discussion and Gita is a body of knowledge being taught. Therefore, the Gita is called Samvada. Krishna Arjuna Samvade. This chant at the end of each chapter. Now, the next topic, giving the teacher the benefit of the doubt. If it looks as though the teacher is being contradictory and the student gives the benefit of doubt to the teacher, this is what is expected of a student. As a student, one need not take the blame upon oneself. The teacher can be asked a question. Previously, such and such was said, and now this is being said. Why is this difference? You said Brahma is without qualities, Nirguna, and now you say it is with qualities, Saguna. How can Brahma be Saguna? You say it is beyond the mind, and that is not available as an object for the mind. At the same time, you say one sees oneself, the Atma with the mind. Manasa Pashyati. How can one see the Atma with the mind? And how one is going to know that one is seeing the Atma? It looks as though the Shruti herself is contradictory. To say that Brahma cannot be objectified by the mind, but has to be recognized by the mind seems to be a contradiction. But it is not a contradiction. It is perfect. If it looks like a contradiction to the student, then he or she can ask a question, a prashna, and when the student waits for the right time to ask a question, it's called a pariprashna, based on his or her faith, shraddha in the teacher. So what the teacher says in that, a student may have doubt. Now, it seems to be contradictory. Even though it seems to be contradictory for the student doesn't dismiss the teacher because the student has accepted the other person as a teacher. So therefore, he has got shraddha in the teacher. Therefore, he has the privilege or the right to ask questions, but he waits for the right time to ask the question. That is called pariprashna. As a teacher, one cannot contradict oneself. A teacher who contradicts himself or herself doesn't know the subject matter. Where there is contradiction, then the person really doesn't know the subject matter. Nor can a teacher simply learn along with the student and teach. That is also not possible. Then it is not a teacher. Since this creates situations wherein both the teacher and student may suddenly discover a new fact never known to either of them before, a fact that contradicts everything that they knew thus far. This is not why one goes to a teacher. Teaching is not meant to be exploratory. Important. Therefore, the teacher should know exactly what he or she is talking about and not be contradictory. The attitude implied by the term Guru Shishya Samvada is especially relevant here. Since the entire teaching is itself a means of knowledge, it is not a philosophical speculation. It is not a theology. Moreover, we are not attracted to this kind of teaching out of a simple academic interest. The teaching has a value, and the value is myself alone. The teaching is about myself. I have a value for freedom, and this value makes me want to know. As a person, I want to be free, and I want to learn for no other purpose than to be free. That is a commitment. That is the value a student must have. Since there is a value there and the teaching itself is a means of knowledge, there must necessarily be a certain attitude on my part towards this teaching and the teacher. It's a beautiful paragraph, worth noting this. That the teaching has to come from a teacher in the form of dialogue is because it is something to be understood, something to be followed, not swallowed. Important. Followed, not swallowed. Therefore, it is not simply a belief. It is to be followed. In a belief, there is nothing to follow, only something to swallow, something to accept totally, without questioning, without question. So in a belief, no questions are allowed. Whereas in teaching, questions are allowed. That's called pariprashna. Students has a privilege to ask questions and clarify the doubts. Because knowledge is what he is interested in. What knowledge? Knowledge about myself. So there need not be any belief about myself. If belief is there, samsara will continue. I'm interested in freeing myself from samsara. Knowledge is involved. Therefore, I have the privilege to ask questions. Shastram encourages the student to ask questions and clarify from the teacher. Any questioning that takes place is meant only to establish what the belief is, which is not really questioning at all. This is why there are so many attempts to establish historical proofs that a certain person existed. Whether someone existed or not is not the issue. The teaching is the issue. So that who existed before is not a problem, but what he taught or what the teaching is, that's what its important is. Therefore, if you look into the teaching, if you're interested in what is being taught, your whole attitude and approach will be different. Here, a dialogue implies a teaching that is received from a teacher, meaning that this knowledge has to be received from a teacher and the subject matter has to be understood. So, it is not to be read or known by oneself. It is to be received from the teacher. Why it should not be read? Because if a person reads Upanishads or Gita on his own, he may come to a wrong conclusion, wrong understanding. Because there seems to be contradictory statements. Therefore, he may come to a wrong conclusion and therefore a new philosophy, wrong philosophy he can have. Therefore, only the teaching is required. Knowledge has to be received. Being a pramanam, it has to be received from the teacher. Giving the benefit of doubt to the teacher and the Shastra. That is called Shraddha. Now, the next topic, 2 types of subject matter. There are 2 types of subject matter in general. Sadhya Vishaya, Siddha Vishaya. Important. In general, there are 2 types of subject matter. Sadhya Vishaya, Siddha Vishaya. Sadhya Vishaya means that it is to be accomplished. Praptavyam. Sadhya. Siddha Vishaya is already praptam, already accomplished. So to be accomplished and already accomplished. So these are the 2 types of subject matter in general, Sadhya and Siddha. Sadhya is that which is yet to be accomplished. And it's accomplished by doing something, by an action. Like what? Like this Dharma, Artha, Kama, Purushartha. I don't have, I have to accomplish it. If you want to know how to go to heaven, for example, first you have to know what heaven is. And then you have to decide to buy a ticket. You are told that punya, that ticket for heaven, can be gained by doing good deeds. Punya karmana punyam. And that punyam can be encashed in the form of going to the heaven. You must also hold on to the punya you have earned, which means that you must not do any improper actions, papa, while you are earning a ticket to heaven. Only then you will go to heaven after death. So you have to return your punya, what you have collected through your good actions. All this is very straightforward for a person who has Shraddha in the Veda, being a pramana, and it's not something that can be logically arrived at. Any question related to sadhya is only to understand how to do something, like cooking, for example. An Indian woman who wants to know how to make pizza will ask certain questions. The situation is very simple. You just tell her how to do it a few times until she knows how, and the topic is over. It's just a matter of whether she has understood what you have said. There is an order governing how everything is to be done. Certain elements are involved and therefore must be understood. What has to be done is also to be understood. And that's the end of it. One may do it or not do it. By practice, one eventually acquires the knack of it. If a person keeps on making pizza, hopefully with some sympathetic people around, he or she will certainly master the art of pizza making. Therefore, pizza making is sadhya, to be accomplished, to be done. This is sadhya, done. There is no questioning here. So you want to make pizza. What question is there in the making pizza? In the beginning, you have to gain the knowledge how to make it. Then by practice, you make it. So you have accomplished. And the subject matter is something you have to accomplish later. When it is dealing with means and ends, sadhya and sadhana, proper questioning is not a part of the whole approach. This is true even if the subject matter is a Vedic ritual. So, when the subject matter is something, when the Vishaya is something which you have to accomplish later. Vishaya to be accomplished later. That is, ends are there and for which the means are there. So, this is a mean for gaining a certain particular end. Then what question is involved? You do it and you get it. This is with regard to the Vedic ritual also. If you do Putra Kameshti Yajna, you will get a son. If you do Kariri Yajna, you get rain. This is a mean and that is the end. The means and end. You take care of the means and the end will automatically come. What question is involved in that? No question. Again, when it comes to actions, that are many choices available. You can do it this way or that way. You need not do it at all. Or you can do something else entirely and achieve the same result. That is here, with regard to action, the choices are talked about. This is a often quoted statement. Kartum shakyam, akartum shakyam, anyata va kartum shakyam. With regard to accomplishing an action, as a human being, he is endowed with free will and therefore choice is there. Therefore, he can do or he need not do, or he can do that in a different way and accomplish the same result. You want to go to Delhi, you can go by flight, or you can go by train, or you can go by walk, or you need not go also. The choices are there. The end result is going to Delhi. That is a sadhya vishaya. And the sadhanams are many, and you can adopt any sadhanam to achieve the sadhya. There is more than one way to go to heaven. There are 100 different ways, of one of which one can choose. Why anyone would want to go is another matter. Thus, when a sadhya vishaya is involved, there can be a choice. Important. Sadhya is to be accomplished. With regard to the things or objects to be accomplished, choices are there. There can be choice. But this is not so with a siddha vishaya. With regard to already accomplished, what choice you have? With regard to sadhya vishaya, you have choice. Even you don't want to gain that, you don't want to get that, that is also a choice. Akartam shakyam. But with regard to siddha vishaya, do you have any choice? No choice in knowledge. That's the next topic. There is no choice involved. However, when that is to be accomplished, is already accomplished. Siddha. But not understood. That is important. What is to be accomplished is already accomplished. It means what? Ajnanam is involved. I don't know that I already have it. I don't know that. So gaining the gain. For example, people sometimes will have this, they put the spectacles on the head and they look for spectacles all around. It is just with them. It is already Siddha Vishaya. They have it, but they don't know. Then somebody has to tell it is right above your head. Then you bring it down. So Siddha Vishaya, it is not to be gained, already gained. But what is the Ajnanam is involved? Ignorance involved, therefore knowledge. So with regard to that, what choice is there? With regard to already accomplished, there is no choice, it is to be understood. Only knowledge is involved. So unlike action, knowledge is not open to choice. Important point to be noted. Action, with regard to action, we have choice. With regard to knowledge, there is no choice. For this person to find the spectacle, what choice he has? He has to gain the knowledge that he has the spectacle right above his head. He has to know it. Only knowledge is the knowledge. By knowledge only, he will accomplish the already accomplished. And the knowledge, with regard to that knowledge, no choice is there. Therefore, unlike action, knowledge is not open to choice. Important statement. It is always true to its object. Another important statement. Knowledge is always true to the object. For example, knowledge of an apple is always true to the apple, even if I will it to be otherwise. Nor do I have a choice in knowledge. Once the means of knowledge and the object of knowledge are aligned, I don't have a choice. If my eyes are open and if they are not defective, and if the mind is not elsewhere, I will necessarily see what is in front of me. What choice do I have? Not to see it. You have an apple right in front of you. When the eyes are open, when the mind is there, you will helplessly see the joy. See the apple. You don't have choice. And the knowledge of the apple is true as the object apple. To know an already accomplished fact requires proper questioning in order to remove whatever that may be blocking the knowledge from taking place. So therefore, where the question comes, only with regard to Siddha Vishaya. With regard to Siddha Vishaya, only there can be questions. With regard to Sadhya, actions are involved. There is no questions. No knowledge is involved. It's only by doing. So therefore, no questioning involved in that. With regard to Siddha Vishaya, because ignorance is there, and therefore knowledge is involved, therefore questioning. Questioning is required. Why should you be denied the knowledge of yourself once it is unfolded? What exactly is the obstruction? Is it that you don't follow what is being said? Once the obstructions have been identified, they have to be removed one by one because you are Brahman. The whole pursuit then is one of removing all doubts. Because this is the knowledge of an already accomplished fact, the knowledge has to be immediate. Yes. With regard to Siddha Vishaya, the knowledge has to be immediate. It cannot be indirect. It is direct, immediate. If it doesn't happen in spite of the teaching, then there is some obstruction, pratibandha, which is in the form of error, vagueness, or doubt. The obstructions are removed in the dialogue between the teacher and the student. That is why questioning is required. Questioning is there as part of the dialogue. It is since the dialogue is a healthy dialogue, healthy discussion, knowledge is involved, knowledge transfer is involved from the teacher to the student. Therefore, by asking questions, the obstructions, the obstructions which obstruct the knowledge are removed. That's why Samvada. Samvada is healthy discussion. Vada between equals, Samvada between the teacher and the student. So, therefore, student can ask question that is called Prashna Pariprashna. Pariprashnena Sevaya, and later in the Gita, the fourth chapter, Bhagavan Krishna will say how to approach the teacher. Offering namaskara to the teacher and surrendering to the teacher, Pariprashnena Sevaya. You can ask questions and clarify the doubts and gain the knowledge. That is what is the significance of this questioning, and that is the next topic. We will read it tomorrow. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Nearly we are ending the introduction to Gita. Tomorrow we will complete. धन्यवाद.